Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. I know it's been about a week and a half since I made a video, something like that. Today I had a client, I got a request from a client. They're growing. They just got awarded a contract, and they are going to be bringing on quite a few new employees. And a lot of those, the majority of those employees are going to be working remotely. Now, this is an engineering firm, so it offers some unique problems in setting up a remote workforce. So what we're going to do today is cover some of the problems and pitfalls and things we have to overcome. And then we're going to set up a virtual machine for a remote user to connect into. And I thought I'd bring you along for the ride, so to speak. Now, typically I don't recommend setting up virtual machines for a remote workforce unless some special circumstances are at play. Now, this is an engineering firm I'm doing this for, so if we tried to run their AutoCAD programs over remote connection, it would be less than desirable. And the main problem with that is this, mouse lag, and the fact that most of the virtual machines don't have a dedicated video card. So when I have a client that uses CAD programs remotely, I make sure we always have a dedicated machine with a high-end video card in it for them to actually physically connect to over the internet, and that tends to work out better. But these particular users that are being brought onto this company only have the basics of needs for a computer. Basically, that is, they want to run the Office 365 suite in a virtual machine and yet have access to all their shared storage on their network. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to set up a virtual Windows 10 machine under Windows HyperV. I'm going to show you how we do it. We're going to load some applications on it and even get it configured for the user to log in remotely. So let's get the video started right now. Alright, so let's get this party started. So come over to HyperV. You'll see this client is running Server 2012 R2. Now I've already got a virtual machine up here, and this is running actually Windows 7. And this is an engineering firm I'm doing this for, so let me explain to you how this is going to work as I adjust the level on my microphone. So this is an engineering firm, and typically they deal with Autodesk products like Civil CAD, that kind of thing. But they also have users that are strictly just logging on and editing documents or creating Word files or Excel files. So that is an excellent candidate to run a virtual machine. So instead of having to dedicate a physical machine in the office there for this user or for these group of users, we've decided to create virtual machines. They will be running Windows 10 Pro and they will be running Office 365. So what I did previously, and you've seen me create sysprepped images of Windows 10 before, I created this image and then I did an export of it into their VM store directory on their D drive under exports. So I have a copy of this virtual machine out there. So it's already sysprepped. So what I'm going to simply do is rename this virtual machine. We're going to rename the hard drive, and then we're going to boot it up and we're going to get it configured. So the first thing I want to do is right click on it and come down to settings. And we're going to call this, let's see, ATE, let's see, VM10-001. Does that sound good? So that's the name of the company. It's a virtual machine running Windows 10, and it's unit number 1. So let's get rid of this. Go ahead and apply that. Now the other thing I need to do is to rename this hard drive. So we're going to come over here and we're going to browse, and we're just going to right click on the file manager name here and rename it to ATE VM10-001. Right, click on, we're going to click enter to rename it, and then double click it and you'll see it changes that name there, and then apply. And we're not going to need the Windows 10 ISO in there, so I'm going to go ahead and eject that. Now I've given this machine 4 gig of RAM and I'm going to give it, let's give it 2 virtual CPUs, and then apply. Now, this is not a very powerful machine. Let me close that because I already had it open. This is not a very powerful machine. It's a super micro server with a Xeon E3 1220 version 3 processor. And as you can see, it's under pretty heavy load right now. We're running Blue Iris on here. That may be changing. But for now, it is running Blue Iris, and it's running another VM. So it's going to be quite a bit for this machine to do, but we're only going to create 1 virtual machine for now, so we should be okay. So now that I've done that, I've renamed it. I've renamed the hard drive. All is in order now. We should be able to double click on it and go ahead and start up the virtual machine. And then we'll get to configuring this. Now remember, after you sysprep a machine, it's going to come up like it's never been run before. It's going to enter the what they call the out-of-box experience, and then we're going to go ahead and get it set up on this person's or on this customer's network. Now this customer was just awarded a rather large contract, so they'll be using more of these virtual machines. So I may end up donating one of my Dell R710s or that IBM as a machine to run virtual machines on, and just lease it to that customer on a monthly basis. It just makes things so much easier. And then this server that's running here can be left to do other tasks. So seeing as the system had been sysprepped, it's going to enter the out-of-box experience, which means we're going to have to go through all this setup again. But that's okay. Now keep in mind, when I go to log in or create an account to log in with, I'm not going to be able to use the one I initially created the virtual machine with, because for whatever reason the sysprep does not wipe out that information, the login information, or the local system account as Microsoft calls it. So if you ever run into that problem where you create a say I created my sysprepped image with the login name Adama, as you've seen before in some of my videos, I have to come back and instead on the first initial out-of-box experience, I have to log on as Adama1, and then you can go out and you can do housekeeping on those files or those accounts and get rid of them. So I've accepted the end user license agreement, and we're going to set it up for an organization, and we're going to do a domain join instead. So let me just see, I'm going to use my account that I use with this client. Yeah, see, it's not going to let me do it because that account already exists, so I'll just do number 1. Then we'll enter our super secret password. Now I just created these images recently, so they shouldn't require a lot of updates. I'm not going to track device history either. Now I already entered my account hints. That's a step I skipped. You didn't see that. And I'm going to decline all these, and then I'm going to turn all of this garbage off. And accept the EULA. And then it should go through and start getting everything set up for us. Good old Microsoft being so helpful. And as you can see, I'm keeping the task manager up while I'm doing this, give you an idea what kind of impact this VM is going to have on this server. And it's surprisingly little. During the initial setup and configuration, most of the activity is on the hard drive. So that's why if you're going to run VMs, I strongly recommend you run them off either shared storage, like SSD shared storage, something fast, or if you're going to use local storage, you know, put a 1 terabyte SSD drive in there, and you'll be much happier with the performance. And keep in mind also, the initial setup of Windows is typically a little bit slower than than you would see in a regular virtual machine. I've got a lot of clients that run on VMs and they love them, especially if they're working across country. It's just such a better use of resources than dedicating a machine to it. Now, like I say, if you're using CAD or something that's really video dependent, you know, or 3D anything, you want to use a physical machine, of course. Alright, the first thing it does is open Microsoft Edge. So I'm going to close that. Now, what I like to do is, once the machine is up and running, I like to do a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure our time zone is correct. That looks to be correct. It does have access to the network. I'm going to go out and do Windows Update just to make sure it has all of its updates. I'm going to bring up Task Manager on the VM. And you can see it's got a couple of logical processors. It's got 4 gig of RAM. Let's see what's using up all the CPU resources. OneDrive. How did I guess that? OneDrive. Good old OneDrive. So we'll let the system get stable, and I'll come back here when we're ready to go out and check out the updates and join it to the domain. Alright, so I've let the system stabilize a bit, and I'm going to try and come out here and do the Windows Update. Make sure we got all our updates here. And you'll see Windows isn't activated yet. We'll get a license for this here shortly. Let's just see how our updates are doing. So over here, this Task Manager is for the server. This Task Manager is for the actual virtual machine. Good old Microsoft updates take forever. And as you can see, there are a couple updates out there. So we'll let these run. We'll come back when we're done with that. System updates are complete, so let's go out and give this machine a name. So we're going to right click on the Windows icon and go to System. We're going to come down here to rename this PC. Click on that. And this is the current name, but we want to call it ATE VM10 001. Click on Next. And of course, anytime you do anything under Windows, it wants you to reboot. So let's reboot. Alright, so we've rebooted after renaming the PC, and the next thing we want to do is join the Active Directory domain. So I'm going to go to File Explorer to do that. They use a Windows domain controller at this location, so I'm going to right click on this PC, go to Properties, and then I'm going to, as you can see, our rename has taken place, it's taken hold. I'm going to go to Change Settings, click on Change, and I'm going to make this a member of the ate.local domain. It'll prompt me for my administrative account and my super secret secure password that I don't use anywhere else or with any other company. Click OK, and hopefully it will welcome us to the domain, and it has. So we're going to need to reboot again. We'll close and go ahead and restart. Alright, so the machine's restarted. Now we need to log in, and this time we need to pay attention. We need to use other user, and we want to log on to the ATE domain. So I'm going to put that in with a backslash. Then I'm going to use my administrative account and password to log in, so we can start getting this unit set up for a user to actually use it. And the user that's going to be using this machine is going to be calling in all the way from Florida. And the internet is a great thing. Now, the first time you log in, after joining a domain, it has to set up a new desktop environment, so it's going to take a little time. And then probably the next thing we're going to do is go out to Ninite, and we're going to download the applications we need on this machine. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to Edge, and I want to download the newest version of Edge. which it should prompt me to do. I'm going to go ahead and download it. Now I'm going to be doing another video on Edge, but I have switched over. I'm using the new Edge browser. I really like it. I will do a separate video on that. Go ahead and run the Edge setup. Now this company prefers Chrome, but they also go back and forth with Internet Explorer. They have an older web app that needs to have Internet Explorer running. But as I learn Edge, I'm trying to get my customers to switch over to it. And I'm just going to leave this on a focused. And we'll continue without signing in. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go to Ninite.com, and we're going to choose some more apps to install. I like using Ninite for this because it just kind of packages everything into one. So we're going to go ahead and run, we're going to get Chrome. Let's see. There's Foxit Reader, but they actually, this company actually prefers to use Adobe Acrobat Reader. So we'll get that separately. I want to make sure I have 7-zip on there. They don't use anything else. Let's just look. Google Earth. No, they don't use Google Earth. This user doesn't. And it's pretty intensive to put on. I'm not going to put VLC on there because they won't be playing video over this. So I think we're good. We'll just go with Chrome then. And 7-zip. And I think that should be good. So we'll get our Ninite. Should download it. And then we'll go ahead and open it. Close our browser down. Give it permission to run. And then it should download Chrome and 7-zip and get them installed for us. And you can see it's having very little impact over the, I think the baseline of the server was like 35%, so not too bad. Yeah, like I said, I'll be doing a separate video on Microsoft Edge, the new browser, but feel free to go out and download it. It's out of beta now. I think you will be pleased with it. I've been running it probably 2 weeks now instead of Chrome, and so far I've been really happy with it. Alright, that didn't take long at all. So it's now installed Chrome and 7-zip, so I'm going to close on this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go get Adobe. So we'll go to Chrome. Go ahead and go through and we'll just we'll set up a landscape. There we go. That looks pretty. And we'll go ahead and set Chrome as default. Actually, no, we won't. We'll leave that alone. So we want to get Acrobat. And let's see how many hoops Adobe makes us jump through. We'll just download the reader. Make sure you turn all this McAfee off. Have y'all used McAfee lately? Oh my God. I had a client. I set him up with a remote desktop. They had a brand new machine and it had McAfee on there. It took 20 minutes to get McAfee uninstalled. It was pegging the utilization at 100%. And took 20 minutes to uninstall remotely. Unbelievable. Now it could have just been a glitch, but I doubt it. Man, don't load third-party antivirus on your Windows system if you don't specifically need it, or if your company doesn't require it, just use just practice good, internet behavior, and use the built-in antivirus with Windows, and don't do stupid stuff on the net, and chances are Windows Defender will be just fine for you. If you get infected, it's probably because you've either opened an email you shouldn't, or you've gone to a website you shouldn't be going to and it has an infection on it. Now, I'm not saying Defender is perfect, but compared to McAfee, it certainly is a hell of a lot faster. Or you could just run Linux and not have to worry about viruses, right? Now, since Adobe went to a subscription-based service, I'm not real fond of their products anymore. But, it is what it is in corporate America. You're stuck with what the client uses. And this client, like I said, they also have a Windows 7 virtual machine, and that is strictly for Adobe products, because they don't want to pay a license for every machine in their company, a monthly fee. So they have one machine that has Adobe products on it, and if somebody needs to get in there and edit a PDF or run a special program through the Adobe Cloud system, they've got one virtual machine they can run it on. They get on, do their work they need to, and then get off, and then they share it with the rest of the office. And that works out well for them. Your mileage, of course, could vary, but that's what this client does. Alright, so Acrobat is installed. I'm going to go ahead and click on Finish, and it's going to launch it for the first time. Give you an idea of the speed of these VMs. And there we go, there's Adobe. I kind of like their new interface, it's okay. But let's see, make Adobe, yes, we want to do that. So it'll come up. One thing I do like about Adobe is it comes up and it simplifies the process of setting this up as your default PDF reader. So go ahead and continue, and it'll bring up a little Adobe Acrobat. We'll change that by clicking on the change button, and Adobe Acrobat. Tell it OK, apply, and OK. Continue, and now we'll get out of it. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is install Office 365 on here. So I'm just going to open Edge. Now this is a corporate account. I'm just going to type in Office 365. And then I'm going to come down to the second one here. And I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Alright, so I've logged into our corporate Office 365 account. And once you do that, you'll have your little dashboard here. I'm just going to click on Install Office, and I'm going to do the Premium Office apps, and I'm going to, it just tells you run the setup once you're done here. So I'm going to go ahead and run the setup, click on yes, and then I'm going to go get myself a cup of coffee while this runs. And then I'll come back once the install is done, give you an idea of how long it took. Keep an eye on the time. It's 2:06 p.m. This client has a 100 by 100 fiber connection, so we'll see how fast it loads the new Office. So all in all, with my trip to the bathroom while it installed, it took about 5-6 minutes to install. So I can close that now. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and run one of the applications. I'll run Word and Excel because they will need to be activated. So let's go run Word just to show you it is working. And it should come up here and ask me to authorize or continue. So I've entered my login information, which I'm not going to show you. And a key is I'm going to allow my organization to manage my devices. So I'm going to click on yes. And then it should register it. And we're all set. So we should be activated now. And we'll accept the EULA. And there you go. We got Word installed and activated. Now let's go ahead and close that. Go ahead and run Excel. If I can find it here. Yeah, there it is. And it should not prompt us to log in again. Yep, good. So we're activated on our Office app. So as you can see, it's fairly trivial to get that set up and installed. I've got one more thing to do, and that is to allow the remote user to log into this, that this machine will be assigned to. I'm going to go ahead and close Edge here. And then I'm going to come back to File Explorer again. I'm going to right click, come down to Properties, and then I'm going to go to Remote Settings right here. And I'm going to allow remote connections to this computer, and then I'm going to add a user. And the beauty of Active Directory, I just need to enter the first few letters, and it's going to be Mary Matthews is going to be the user on this. So I've given her remote access capability. Apply. Click on OK. And we should be ready to go. And that's basically, in the most basic form, that's basically all we need to do to set up a remote desktop for the user. And as you can see, as it's sitting here idle, what it uses mostly is RAM. It's very low impact on the CPU unless they start running Outlook and Excel and Word and that kind of stuff. So there you go. That wasn't tough at all, was it? No, and it's very similar to setting up on a physical machine. Virtual machines aren't that different. Now, I'm using Microsoft Hyper-V. You could have used Proxmox, you could have used XCP, whatever you want to use. This particular client already has a Microsoft infrastructure in place, and they have a server license, so that's why we went with Server 2012 Hyper-V and then loaded Windows 10 and a VM on that. But like I say, you could use XCP, you could use whatever you want to. I think you will find, though, and it's been my experience, that Windows tends to run in a virtual machine better on Hyper-V than it does on XCP or Proxmox. Not saying it can't be done, but in this particular instance with a higher end client like this, you tend to go with what you know, and I know Hyper-V. So there you go. Now, some of the things we didn't cover are setting up a VPN, having the user log in through the VPN and then log into the remote desktop. There are several different ways to skin that cat. That's why I didn't cover that on this video. But suffice it to say, this user will be coming in on a secure VPN connection and then launching the remote desktop and being able to do what they need to. Now, the other nice thing about using Hyper-V and using a virtual machine is there are local resources on their desktop, on their local machine that they're running from at home, are also available to them. They can copy, cut, and paste without having to go through a bunch of hoops to get that done. That's another reason I use Hyper-V in an instance like this. So there you go. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Please leave your comments down in the comments section. Give us a thumbs up if you liked the video. Donate if you're so inclined. We take PayPal and we take Patreon at this time. So thanks again for coming to see us. Come see us again as soon as you can, or when I post the next video, that is. And don't forget, we will see you on the other side.